Videomedeje is an alternative cultural manifestation, which presents a real reflection of social status and individuals in relation to governing systems and global politics through contemporary art forms of authors from around the world. It is a festival of different perceptions, different customs, and primarily avant-garde social culture, shown through a variety of new artistic practices. In the selection phase of the competition, artistic works that question political, social, and cultural constructs are prevalent. These works represent critical and subversive activities through avant-garde form that reacts on official ideological doctrines. Videomedeje searches for those artists that see this hidden, alternate reality, alternate culture and art that indicate the different possibilities by pointing out differences and questioning ethical and aesthetic values. Our aim is the need for change of individual and social conscience, as well as the realization of the results of our alternative creators in areas of culture and art. We wish to encourage interest for critical thinking and opposing the idea that artistic works should belong to the capital, because this makes these works more distant from the artists themselves, and thus making them less art. Video and newer technologies have a decisive role in creating new mass culture and act outside any framework or traditional culture. Video was very quickly positioned as an alternative to television, opposing mass media, which are most commonly backed by capitalists or leading parties, who impose sexism, nationalism, racism, and homophobia. Video is seen as a means of introducing new narratives and questioning identities and society. Video came up not just from institutions, but from our screens. Video functions independently from institutions, because unlike film, which has its institutional frame, cinema, and film language. On the other hand, video is always open for a wide variety of experimentation, without limits, and without the need to follow rules. Video is available to all, and anyone can make video. Video can function independently, but as a part of cinema, mass media, ambience, facade, different situations, or even as a part of other art forms as well. It can be projected and integrated anywhere as a means to efficiently convey a message or emotion.
Video art as a movement was very innovative and very powerful in the past. But the question is, how powerful movement is today? Video art, videokunst, videoarto, arte video, videoiskustwo, sztuka video. All those great names are gone now, I think.
50 godina od samog video arta, to su neverovatne promjene. Na primjer, produkcije su bile sve veće, izgledalo je sve više filmsko s jedne strane, a s druge strane bilo je i eksperimentalno. I sad tako desi se ponekad u istoriji da se, pošto sam ja animator, znam dosta o tome i upoznao sam recimo jednog Engleza, Paul Busha, koji je tako u tim udžbenicima kao neki eksperimentalni animator. On je meni pričao da je zlatno doba bilo tamo u krajem 80-ih na BBC-u, kad je postojala samo, sad sam zaboravio kako se zove ta kreatorka, kad se otvorio Channel 4, mislim 82. Ja sam tad bio u Engleskoj, sećam se da je tada počeo Channel 4 i ona je imala samo jedan televizor i video, tad VHS i čekovnu knjižicu i mogla da donese maltene bilo ko šta god hoće, ona je samo ubacila VHS i ispisala čekove i tu su nastali neverovatno dobri radovi eksperimentalni. Ja sam uvek više voleo taj više neprimenjeni pristup i eksperimentalniji i to mi je zanimljivije. Bio sam primoran da se bavim i ovim malo komercijalnijim, što zovem ja štancitis, vezano za naročito animaciju i video igre, ali mi je ovo nekako mnogo zanimljivije i bliže i srećan sam kad imam prilike da učestvujem. A jedan od tih naročito zanimljivih platformi, često i jedina u Novom Sadu i šire je bila Videomedeja. I dalje ostali su ti jako lepe uspomene na to i nadam se da će i dalje da se razvije.
Videomedeje je vodeći festival video i medijskih umetnosti u Srbiji, a kao internacionalni festival je stvorio i omogućio platformu za razmenu i poznavanje radova i umetnika iz svih krajeva sveta. Pored insistiranja na savremenosti i savremenim praksama, Videomedeja je u nekim svojim izdanjima i u posebnim programima prikazivala istorijske radove ključnih umetnika koji su bitni za razumevanje i razvoj samog medija. Ovaj podnaslov nam upravo govori da će video umetnosti dalje funkcionisati i biti vrlo aktuelna i u vremenu postdigitalnog, prostorima između analognog i digitalnog, materijalnog i nematerijalnog, fizičkog i virtualnog, zadržavajući pritom osnovne principe svog delovanja putem kritičkih, eksperimentalnih i subverzivnih praksi.
In terms of significant changes in film and video art, the most immediate that stands out to me is the continual development and availability of new technology. The fact is that anyone with greater ease than ever before in history can choose to use the medium to seriously explore ideas and examine and perceive the world around them in unique and creative ways, which don't fit into commercial or mainstream contexts. Just to name a few, the medium is fantastic for conveying hidden and imaginative worlds, different mental states of mind, psychological and emotional complexity, and different cultural perspectives. A film or piece of video art can really be anything, from an experimental abstract use of light and shadow, to an animation made by two people, to a narrative story with a cast and crew. The medium is still most generally appreciated and perceived and understood in popular culture through this narrative context. And I think that artists and filmmakers continually push the notions and boundaries of what the medium is and what it can be. Challenges for film and video artists definitely exist. It's easy for work to get lost in a sea of online content. Something like up to 3 billion images and 720,000 hours of video are uploaded every single day online. I think that's one of the reasons why curated festivals and exhibitions are such important and excellent places to discover dedicated works of film and video art. And they also allow one to get a fantastic sense of how contemporary artists and filmmakers around the world continually utilize and expand the medium as a form of personal expression.
What is video art to begin with? Next to the other arts, I think video art added one important element. Time. It's very much time-based. And it can use story, it can use sound, it can use music, and it can also use elements of painting or sculpture. If you make a video installation, it also involves space, color, atmosphere, texture. And in that sense, I think video art is very much a crossover medium. It's very much a medium that incorporates a lot of media, and that's what I like about it. And that's also why I find intrinsically there's not much difference between the rest of the arts and video art. It's all art. And as an artist, I'm not so much interested in how well accepted video art is. I guess I'm more concerned about making good art, which is difficult enough. But probably in Serbia, things are different, and the acceptance of video art is really your concern, I can really imagine. But I'm sure that Videomedeje as a festival and as a place to present video art has already made a big difference.
People are about putting everything in boxes, and when we are looking, when we are talking about cinema, it's, for me, it's really, I don't really understand those big boxes and the border within each boxes in between documentary, fiction, experimental, animation, and so and even there are boxes within the boxes. And I really don't like border and to put everything in boxes. Sometimes it's clear, it could happen if you watch a Marvel film or whatsoever, it's a fiction film, if that it's clear, but that at the end it don't really mean nothing for me.
We are both from the analog generation. That means that our childhood was documented and recorded by our fathers on these 3 minutes, only Super 8 reels.
And then later on it was possible to buy those camcorders that we could use ourselves and did not have to ask our fathers for the video equipment. But it was still a challenge to edit it by VHS, by difficult editing processes, and also with digital equipment that did not work properly in the beginning. It was really a challenge to produce a video that was running without any errors and glitches.
This is a very important time, I think, to talk about restArt in the context of video art. Because I think, although there have been many changes that have taken place since we can track the origins of video art, perhaps people will disagree back to the 1960s or into the 1970s. Perhaps some forms even of early broadcast television before it became very conventionalized, had certain aspects of exploration, experimentation that made it very interesting during that period of time. But this is a very important time because I think we're actually in the midst of one of the most profound changes during that history. And essentially this is the transformation that is taking many different forms and having many different effects from video as an analog medium to video as a digital information system medium.
I believe that the video art is not only technical term describing art created with technological means of electronic cameras and recorders. But it's a name of powerful and innovative art movement which appears in the end or in third quarter of 20th century. Movement which was innovative, originating new territories, new strategies, not only in aesthetical dimension, but with the whole cultural, social, but also economical and political dimensions.
When early analog video systems became available for artists, they were very limited and rudimentary and challenging. And of course that became, for many early pioneering video artists, something they could take advantage of. I think early video artists like William Wegman or even Sadie Benning, I think much of the charm of their work has to do with the lack of sophistication of the technology. So now we're facing an enormous increase in that sophistication of that technology at the same time as it has become almost immediately accessible, I won't say to everyone.
Cinema was always like a commercial part of it, that were making film for the audience. And there is a more art cinema that was always like a minority, that was always only a small part of it, and that was always like put aside.
Sad, s druge strane, velika komercijalizacija, ali to je čisto zbog tog sve veće korporativnog kapitalizma. Znači, to jako utiče i na video. Znači, sve veća komercijalizacija. I mislim da čak savremena umetnost gubi tu neprimenjenost. Nažalost. Mislim, generalno. Ali već je bila prilično elitistička. 90-ih i početkom 2000-ih i sad se gubi u toj komercijalizaciji.
Another thing I mean, we could talk about the past, we could talk about the present of video art or artist moving image or experimental film or whatever you could call it, avant-garde cinema. I love all these names and I feel comfortable with all of these labels. Because it is an area, you could say, of film history that is incredibly dear to me. But the future, the name has changed over the recent years of what it is that we do, what kind of cinema that we stand for. But I think the future of cinema, as we have also learned during the pandemic, where we were forced to find new ways of watching films together, is to maybe even have more emphasis on that. I think multiplexes and huge cinemas are a thing of the past, really. I think that is really a thing of the past. And I think intimacy, not so much smaller audiences, that's really not what I'm going for here, but really going for the warmth, going for the togetherness, going for hosting film screenings in a humane way is the thing that we have to go with, and that is the thing that we have to keep in the future.
A velike su i tehnološke promjene, a sad naročito recimo što nema bioskopa recimo, ili što je taj streaming mnogo jači. To su velike promjene i u odnosu na navike ljudi i u odnosu na sam način života.
So the medium of video made filmmaking much more accessible and much more affordable to a lot of people. And at the same time, today's distribution channels make these films, the productions, the videos much more accessible to the audience and to the people who like to watch movies. So video means, in a way, a kind of democratization from both sides of the distribution channels.
Yeah, maybe that's the main thing of the development in the last 50 years, that it became so accessible.
That used to be quite a difficult position to hold, having one foot in the film world and having one foot in the art world, because these worlds were so far apart. But over the last couple of years, there's been a relationship, a real relationship between the world and between these worlds, and an exchange, which I think is wonderful, and I feel very, very comfortable in that world now, in that in-between world, you could say. Usually, they refer to me as an artist working in film, or someone who is part of the artist cinema or the artist moving image, and it's been hardly ever actually since recent years have people called me a video artist.
The question of history of cinema and the tool of the cinema are really important if we start to think about what is or was the video art. Before the video in the 60s, everything was in film. There was no other way to make films. So we had at this time already some kind of experimental cinema, or people trying to do things since Vertov and even before it. But when the video arrived, some artists, whatever, if they were coming from experimental cinema or like contemporary art, some of them just pick up the camera, video camera, and start to play and make films with that. And they needed it was some kind, it was new, and what really, in a way, separate what was video art and other kind of films was simply the techniques, because it was impossible to screen video film into cinema. And those artists had to create their own spaces, their own festival, their own room for screening, or to use museum and to make installation and everything. It was really a question of technique, and the opposition in between what was video art and what could be more widely experimental cinema disappeared at the beginning of 2000, when it started to be possible to use video screener or a video projector into proper cinema, and that allows some festivals that were more like regular to integrate their own selection more easily, video art pieces or at least film made with video. And so the differences about what was video art and other kind of experimental cinema almost disappears then.
Of course, if something appeared in the languages or in language, it resists and still be in use for many different occasions. But in terms of powerful, innovative art movement, the term video art belongs only to the history.
Restart u smislu da se ponovo krene, da se dešava i nešto novi početak, jer uvijek mora se izmišljati novi početci i da se pogleda sa druge strane. Zato što uvijek kad smo zaglavljeni u jednom određenom kolotečini, moraš da izađeš da bi sagledao s druge strane, i čitava umetnost je neki proces oslobađanja. Oslobađanja i gledanja na iste stvari u drugom svetlu i kombinovanja stvari koje dotad nisu kombinovane. I spajanje, nešto što se nije spajalo, i na taj način nastaje nešto novo i zanimljivo. Neki put je to malo radikalnije.
I want to show you some catalogs or some early publications mentioning video art, maybe not for the first time, but in the very early stage of its developing. This is catalog of Namjoon Park exhibition and Everson Museum of Art in Syracuse in the end of 1973. Its titled video exhibition was titled Video and Videology 59 to 73. So it's showing a kind of ongoing process which is not really recently new, but is underdeveloped for more than 1 decade. So in this catalog we will find the name video art. So the video art is named. I believe that the term video art was coined on the end of the 60s, but it gained more popularity in early 70s and during the 70s. So let me show some images. You see aesthetic of early video, analog, lot of disturbances, lot of dropouts and other failures. This is probably first catalog summarizing first decade of video art movement existence. It was published in New York in 1976, and it's now summarizing and naming and cataloging the work of a couple dozens of artists working with the video at that time. This is catalog showing many individual positions, but also showing kind of identity of this new movement video. And this is probably first book describing the phenomenon of new art. Phenomenon that is something new in the art. It's not only the catalog, but it's a critical anthology edited by Gregory Badcock, and it was printed in 1978. So all those publications are showing new, emergent, but powerful art movement. After the 50 years of developing of video art, in 2013 or 14, several exhibitions took place in museums and galleries commemorating the half of a century of video art existence. But this is a catalog from Centre Pompidou, from France. Video as a vintage medium.
Sad se osjeća, na primjer, u svetu da je na pragu velika promjena i pošto je velika kriza, znači da će biti velika promjena. A kriza je sada na nivou nekog svetskog rata. Mislim, sad je malo drugačiji taj možda biološki rat, zato što ne može nuklearni ili već šta, kakav smo možda učili u istoriji da su bili ratovi, ali je mnogi stvari su iste i mislim da će trajati ta promjena. I onda sigurno nastaje neko novo doba i taman je sad taj period kad smo, ne znam, recimo kad bi se poredili s Drugom svjetskim ratom, sad smo u 43. ili 42. A umetnost čak i predosjeća sljedeći, onako podsvesno i pravi radove koje mogu da nagoveste sljedeće doba. To je isto jako zanimljivo.
And I believe that now, when we are surrounded by electronic devices, electronic images, electronic sounds, electronic communication, network communication, different forms of electronic exchange, it's a paradox that video art, which originated on all those new dimensions, disappeared, not because video died as an art form, but because it was overspread, overwhelming everything which is connected with the contemporary image. So I think that is not a video art as an art movement, but it's a kind of new situation of digital communication, which is not experimental anymore, which is one of the most important form of cultural communication, which is much, much broader than field of art.
Velike su promjene i u pristupu samom i u distribuciji i mislim da je isto veliki problem što ljudi su površniji i onda manje mogu da prate i kraće i mora biti drugačije predstavljeno. Znači, kako se lista neki Instagram, tako su te kraći klipovi, ali i vidim umetnici prvi reaguju na to sa nekim svojim pričama. Sve to jako utiče. Mislim, naročito i tehnologija koja menja način života i percepciju samo. Isto tako u animiranom filmu su kraće forme i gledaju se na manjim ekranima.
Maybe it's important to add that the video art play a crucial role for emancipating women in the art world.
Is it time to restart? Which new media will survive and which will become the past? Is video already dead?